Welcome to CrittaCam. I'm Peter Birch and today I'm going to take you through some of the processes that I do with my hatchling Antaresia. There's been so many people requesting or asking what's the process that I go through. Now today is pretty exciting. I have to show off a little bit, I'm sorry, but my new workstation, plenty of cupboard space, a nice big luxurious bench, pretty comfy seat, and more importantly, we got plenty of lights. That's right, plenty of lights to see exactly what's going on. I do spend a lot of hours down here at night and during the day, so this is my workstation, one of many. And so what we're going to do is going to go through the processes. Now, a lot of people have been asking exactly what happens. Now, you've seen previously when I go through the whole process of breeding my adult animals, all the adult animals are individually numbered. I put them on these cards, I weigh the females prior to mating, and then we go through whenever we see copulations, we write them down on the card, and the females go through a pre-lay shed, we go through all that stuff, and it sounds like a bit of a jargon or a lot of really bad information, but it's really useful information. You can imagine that next year when I'm going to go to breed animals, I need to know what I produced last year, and this is how we do it. So I go through that and put all that information on there. Now, the babies come out like this. So they've all come out of the eggs, and this is the next lot that we're going through. And there's a good variety of animals right here. There's a pretty good chunk of stuff. And as you can see, each one's got their own card that relates to their own breeding pairs and couples and all the rest of it, which allows me to keep track of the genetics. I mean, you can imagine producing something absolutely outstanding and forgetting where it came from. That would be devastating, at least. I mean, look at these. There's some pretty cool stuff coming through. These beautiful little crackers here, and that's exactly it. Mum's name is actually Crackers. These are some beautiful T+ Stimson's python. Absolute gorgeous animals. Now the cool part about those is we produced a few clutches this year, and there seems to be a bit of variety in the coloration. I mean, look at these ones. These ones are probably my favourite. I just like those cherry reds. Look at that, it just pops. Absolutely gorgeous looking things. But I'm slightly biased when it comes to cool looking dirt snakes. I do breed brown ones, I do breed red ones, I do breed yellow ones, and all sorts of in between. So we've got a really good spread of stuff across the table here. So, the animals, well basically the clutch of eggs come from the adults. They go into a tub, the card goes on the tub so we can keep a track of that clutch. It goes into the incubator, and as you can see it's looking a little bit bare at the moment, a little bit empty. But that's what happens when you hatch them eggs. And then the babies hatch out of there. We leave them in the incubator, or basically in these boxes, until they have their first shed. After they have their first shed, that's when things can start to turn a little bit nasty. They will start to get a bit of a feeding response, so we need to take them out, separate them, and then establish feeding. If you leave them in there too long, you will get acts of cannibalism, which is a horrible thing, but it can happen. And I mean, imagine something like this. These nice looking marble children's, and then they decide that they want to eat each other. That would be absolutely horrible. Beautiful little snakes. Boink, boink. And you can see a little bit of condensation or humidity on the box fibers. The next step from here, where it all gets a little bit crazy, a little bit Rain Man-ish, is we go into the baby room. So this is the baby snake room. And as you can see, each baby individually gets their own little card. It's almost like a pet registration. It's very simple. So basically we put the number of the animal, so we assign a number to these animals. Then we put the sire, the dame, and their hatch date on there. Now it's a revised card, especially for this time of the year and the way that we breed our animals. So as you can see across the board, you can see we're starting to fill this area up pretty rapidly. I mean, we've got a little bit of a spot down the bottom here. We've got a little patch down there, and we've got this back corner. But unfortunately, we're going to fill this up really quick, which could be a bit of a problem. And we're talking about Antaresias. If anyone's ever bred a clutch of children's python, times that by more than one clutch, and you're going to have a few problems. And I'm going to do a little feeding show and helping out some people with some problems or some issues, or how to identify some problem feeders and how to get them over that hump and get them feeding. And I know it's a big thing because everyone likes to breed these beautiful snakes and not everyone succeeds getting them feeding. So in a nutshell, these guys come into this area, they get their own little card like this guy here. So we start off with C is for children eye, the number 20 is the year 2020, 034, that means it's the number 34. We started from number 1, we work our way through to number 200 or whatever it may be. And as long as we know who the parents are, it doesn't matter what that number is, as long as we can track that. And then we can see basically here on the cage, in the bright pink is PM, 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 PM. So we can see its feeding history. I can quickly see when they're hatched to know that if they haven't eaten within about a 3 to 4 week period of hatching, that's when I start to get a little bit worried, and then I can go in there and do a bit of assist feeding. And unfortunately, when you deal with these tiny little snakes, assist feeding may be something that we have to do. Now, each one of these babies gets basically these hide. It's a little hide slash water bowl. The water bowl sits inside there, so they can get underneath and feel comfortable. Or what these guys like to do is actually get under the paper. And this guy is hiding under the paper, and he's getting pretty close to a shed. So it's a little bit difficult to see them, but yeah, gorgeous little snake there. And you know, and of course, because these guys are eating pinkies, there's really not a lot of nutritional value. There's a lot of fat, a little bit of protein, so it passes through their system, and we keep these guys reasonably warm. As you can see over here, I've got this box here. This box here basically tells me the temperature inside the box on the heat cord is 33.8, but it will go up to about 36 degrees Celsius. I do that because I get really good feeding responses. It'll burn off that fat, basically all that egg yolk fat that sits in their stomach. It's got to get rid of that real quick. So you've got to try and get food in there as quick as possible, get their metabolism up and running, and then you're going to get some really good growth rates. Some of these guys are chomping away at the bit, as you can see. Some of these guys are a little bit slower. So obviously the lower we go, they're the newer ones. The higher we go are the older ones that have been here a little bit longer. So basically the clutch will come in, we'll number the animals, put them in their own individual boxes, make sure they've got water bowls, all that stuff individually for them, and then we'll go through and number the system, and then we'll start the feeding process, which can be sometimes a little bit tedious. And you know, some of these guys are absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I can't help to be amazed sometimes at some of the colours that we're creating here. This beautiful little albino, that's right, albino, double E-N-O, that's how I like to say it. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more insight. As we progress with feeding and all that sort of stuff, I'll keep you guys in the loop. I'll show off some of the cool stuff that we've produced this year, because we've produced a fair quantity of animals, and there's some really good stuff there that I've been surprised by myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did, make sure you give me a like, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Till next time guys, thanks for watching The Dirt Snake King. Thank you.